back again. Just wanted to introduce our guest today, Savvas Nicholas. Savvas now went to university, UCL. Savvas is absolute guru, tech guru. Also did a year out in Georgia Tech in America. So he's got a very different perspective of the world from a software perspective, but also has the background of an electronic engineer. So it's interesting having him here today. Savvas and I have been talking about loads of stuff within the industry, some of the problems that I found that with his skill set, we think we can solve. So really the chat today is just about Savvas and some of the issues that you've been having with your home. And I thought it was actually quite topical to bring you on here today. So if you could just elaborate, just expand on some of the issues that you think, or some of the issues that you're having rather at home that you feel automation can solve. And then just discuss how you've gone about that. So if you could just expand and just, bear in mind we're speaking to a normal audience, so try and break it down in layman's terms if you can.
Well, I think all my problems are quite, quite typical, right? But I think I'd be breaking down to two types of problems. One is my kind of general home automation problems, and the other is probably my kind of DIY, kind of more fun project issues, which I kind of figured out that you can actually solve using home automation solutions. But I didn't really know about that. I just knew my way. My way of solving it.
So your way, what have you done with your way now to some of the issues? So just expand on some of the issues that you're having now, and what you've done to solve those at present.
All right, so I have a gate, like a front gate, and it works on the 433 megahertz, radio frequency key, right? Yeah. So I always lose my flipping key, but I've never lost my phone, right? Touch wood. Right? But I'm always losing this key, and the key costs like 20 quid, 30 quid, like every time you want to buy one. It works great, it works from miles away, but I'm literally just always losing this key. So what I've done was I've connected a Raspberry Pi, which is like a tiny computer. I've soldered wires like to this key. So I basically I was like, this is the last key I'm going to buy. So I bought the key, I left the battery in the key, I've soldered stuff around it, so it's now some kind of Frankenstein key. And then I've connected that to like a mini computer.
So let me expand that. So you've essentially taken a key, you've soldered a connector or rather you connected this mini PC to your key to mimic you pressing that key.
Exactly.
Right, so that key has to be within range of the gate to work, right?
Yes.
Okay. Cool.
So yeah, that's positioned strategically, kind of somewhere where it's not in view, but can still hit the gate. And it works the key works from far away. But again, that process wasn't that simple because it was like, do I replace the battery? Do I get an extra power supply because the key works on like this weird 12-volt battery or whatever, 12 volts or 24-volt battery, I can't remember what it was. There's a battery you'll never find in the shop. You have the bottom line. It costs like 10 quid. And then, you're sending out like a radio wave, so, signal, so it has to work quite far. Then also the components of the key, like the key costs 20, 30 quid, so I didn't want to short circuit or blow anything. So in the end, I just soldered some wires together and just kind of mimic the control of the key.
So let's keep this a bit simpler. Don't lose us now, Savvas. Don't lose us, please, all right? Bear in mind, this guy's got a first class from UCL, from UCL University, so he may lose you, but I know we can speak in normal language. So just walk us through the actual issue being solved now and how you're now interacting with your gate.
Yeah, right. So literally what I've done in layman's terms is I've got a key and I have a wire connecting across the button of the key. So now if I want to switch the gate on, there's a piece of electronics called a relay, and all it does is switch on and off now, and that will just pretend that the button is now being pressed. So instead of me pressing the button with my hand, I now have some electronics that now will short circuit the button, will connect the circuit that the button was functioning as before, and now that will then switch the gate.
Okay, we get that now.
So, but in order to do that, you have to connect the relay, which is basically the only thing that works in home automation. Everything just relays that.
So just to add, guys, a relay is an electronic switch. So imagine your normal switch that you press on and off at your house. That's typically the function of a relay. However, one has the ability to operate that electronically. So go on. So now we've got this relay triggering your gate.
Okay, exactly.
Move forward, please.
So now in my little computer, I've got I can basically now send a command to the computer just by going to an address in my web browser.
So that's like a website almost, yes?
It's exactly like a website.
Okay.
And it just means when you load that page, it clicks the button and then opens my gate. That's it.
Okay. So in principle, all you've done is mimicked you pressing the button, right?
Exactly.
But what you've had to do is you had to go around that by using a third-party PC that sits in your network, that's connected to a spare key or button for your gate that now mimics the whole process. So that's great. And that's been an issue for you purely because you use a key. Well, obviously there's other members in your house that I imagine that probably could work for as well. So
now everyone uses that. Yeah,
okay, cool.
Now everyone uses that.
Okay, cool. What would you say is the experience for the user interacting with that key?
I tell you what, it's great because it's just one function, and you just save that URL to your home screen, like on your phone, for example, and you just click it, and now the gate opens. It's not perfect because sometimes, so say for example, the phone will try to remember what the page looked like last time, right? So you have to know that you have to actually click refresh the second you load it, and you loaded it recently.
Okay.
Because the page loads like done, right? So it just print the word done like in your in your web browser.
Okay.
But the phone tries to remember, the page said done before, so I'm not going to bother, asking what the page should look like now.
Okay.
Which would send a request to my little web server.
Yeah.
Connect to my key. Now it just like it was done. So then, my mom, for example, she looks at it and goes, "Oh, it's done, but the gate's not open." And so you have to click refresh again, and then it will work. Right?
Okay.
And it's not great because there's no loading icon. You don't really know if it's working because, for example, I switched the key on for 5 seconds. So it means you don't get a response for 5 seconds.
Okay.
Right?
So I love this. So ultimately speaking, your background's in software. You are an electronic engineer by your profession, or by your degree rather. And ultimately speaking, you've still built this device that still is not really for the end user. It works well for you, but it's not really for the end user. So there's obviously a big push on IoT devices nowadays. But what in that couldn't you use to do this? Could you not do this with one of these sort of gadgets out there now? You've got you've got Ring, Nest, Hive, to name a few of smart devices that now do things other than their primary function, which, for example, Nest was heating.
Right. Yeah.
So is not anything else that you could have done? So based on your research, could you not have found an easier solution without?
Could have, and I would love to have found one. Mm-hmm. But to be honest, I already had, Raspberry Pis are cheap, right? Mm-hmm. So the cost of the thing I did, it was like 30 quid, and I could have done it with one that cost 5 quid. It just so happened I had one of these. Right?
Okay.
And secondly, to be honest, it's a minefield out there. I don't really know. I knew that's the way I know how to do it, mm-hmm. and I knew that it was going to work. Right. Okay. So I don't want to mess around with other stuff that I didn't know. Do I need to buy that hub for it? How does that actually work? Can I actually, do it the way I want to do it?
This is something key you just said. You just mentioned this a minefield out there, and this is one of the things that I feel that we're missing in the automation industry. There's a big, on one of our last series, we spoke to Thomas, our head of technical, who basically spoke about each manufacturer now has their own solution for their own devices. So the number of products out there is proportional to the number of applications that you have for it. So for example, someone's got a solution for a socket, someone's got a solution for heating, someone's got a solution for a doorbell, someone's got a solution for a light. And ultimately speaking, you have things that should be consolidated into one application, but there are n number of applications to do essentially what can be done from one unique user experience. So for example, you've done that for your gate, but you've also mentioned some other issues that you had of automation. So heaters, just tell us, for example, what the energy company said to you about your house. It's pretty interesting.
Yeah, so we got a phone call from the energy company, and they said, we all live at home, and we all work from home as well. So kind of at home often, right? But the heating's not on more than 2-3 hours a day, right? We got a phone call from the energy company, basically saying, so are you guys running a business at your address because you're using 5 times the average energy usage that you should be using? We're like, well, I mean, technically you could say that because everyone works from home, but at the end of the day, if I add up all the stuff I use, I've got only LED lights, but I don't switch them on, right? I've got some weird adaptation to the cold, so I don't even need to put the heating on, right? I don't cook during the day. I'm not using anything.
It's funny, just to add, he says he's got some weird adaptation. And we met up once in Houston, and this guy was freezing. I was in my biking gear, in my double layer bottoms, double jacket, and this guy was in a shirt. I was like, something's wrong with you. And he came up with some weird theory that if you, and correct me if I'm wrong, or correct me rather if I'm wrong. I think he basically said to me is that if you adjust to the cold, your body will just naturally adapt, right? Yeah. Something along those lines.
If you're always wrapping up warm, then you're going to need to be wrapped. That's your level of comfort. If you're just like walking around in shorts and t-shirt in January, it's going to be fine.
Yeah, that. Sorry, we digress. But go on. So you were saying that you're using more energy than necessary. So what did you ask me? You asked me a question about how can I solve this, right? And I think our initial response to you is like, you need to do an automation. And my perspective is, again, based on the typical solutions we normally provide. It was quite an expensive one, to say the least, right? So what was your thoughts then moving forward? Like, what was your next steps in terms of finding a solution? What were you looking for?
Well, okay, so
to try and find out why you're using all this energy.
Well, so basically the energy company said to us, we need to isolate we turn everything off in the house and then connect to the mains, like the main, what do you call it, like where the main distribution point for the energy that comes to the house, right? So we have to connect some energy device to that and then basically see which thing is using all the energy.
That doesn't tell you which. Like if I put an ammeter of some sort, so this is just simply a meter that monitors the energy. If I put that in place, that just tells me what the whole house is using. It doesn't tell me what's using it. So in order to do that, I'd have to do that and monitor each individual device.
We have to turn everything off. That's what he said.
Right? Oh, so he said
literally turn every item off.
Turn everything off and turn everything on one by one, so you can see what the energy demand is.
Yeah, but that's stupid to me, right? Because that's not a holistic energy monitoring solution. That's not saying, okay, well, maybe the tumble dryer uses loads of energy, but if we only put it on once a week, right? Then that is you can't actually say is that using the energy, right?
Okay.
So really, you should be using a holistic solution based on how you're actually using the house.
Exactly.
Right? And only at that point, after monitoring for a week or even a day, right, you'll say, oh, well, it's clearly this. Right?
Okay.
So the answer is, like, it's obvious. It's definitely a hot water system, right? It's obvious. But it's a very archaic system. It's kind of a bit more difficult to plug. If you look at it, right, even me looking at it, it's kind of like, what the hell is this, right? So, and it's kind of been, it's been there for like 20 years, say, and it's broken multiple times. So people kind of short-circuited more and more parts of it, and now suddenly it's kind of quite difficult to figure out what.
So ultimately speaking, so you've got issues with your gate, you've got issues with heating, or rather issues with a high consumption of energy, and you cannot find out on a granular level what's using the energy and why. So you've looked at how to use automation to do this. Again, you've looked at IoT devices that don't really tick the boxes, because again, each of them cost you on average 100 quid a pop, and it'll be expensive. And for example, you can't put a smart socket on, for example, your washing machine that's hardwired into the wall, right? Yeah. So the issues that we discussed with this is the cost associated with it. But ultimately speaking, that there's cost, there's fragmentation, so there's loads of solutions, or in theory, there appears to be loads of solutions, but none really tip the job in terms of function, user friendliness, and cost.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, is it fair to say that?
Yeah, I tell you one thing. So the cost part, right? I'd say it's going to be very difficult to convince me to spend. So I'm trying to save money on my energy. It's going to be very difficult to convince me to spend $1,000 to monitor everything in my house when I'm trying to save money in another area, right? In the first place, right? Because the solutions are so expensive.
Okay.
It's like if I wanted to monitor my heating, my lighting, my fridge very old, so I don't know if that's using loads of energy, right? All the other major appliances. It's been very difficult to convince my household to spend that money when we're trying to save money on the energy in the first place.
Makes sense.
So people typically going to be, I'm in money saving mode. I want to spend less, right? So if you're not saying, okay, well, if you spend a couple of £100, right, then you could start, you could start monitoring stuff. But if you're talking like $1,000 and stuff, like what the solutions are nowadays, and it's a ball ache to actually fit them, then it's a thing that's going to be a lot more resistant.
Okay, that's a fair point, and one can't argue with that. So what would you say, just just to sort of close the topic, so to speak, what would you say is your perspective on the market? So now you're a bit more informed than probably the average person, I'd say. There's an IoT market, there's a custom integration market, which is what we primarily do. What would you say your perspective of the IoT, the custom integration market is?
So I'd say the consumer products out there, it just seems like cheap plastic, if you ask me. Like all the stuff out, I wouldn't, I'm buying that stuff. So you buy it and then.
Please, let's not knock any manufacturers there. We're not trying to knock anyone there. So just keep it manufacturer agnostic if possible, but just yeah. So I get your point. So
it's just all like stuff produced as cheaply as possible on Amazon, for example. And there just doesn't seem to have any quality control or whatever, right? And it doesn't all seem to integrate nicely into some kind of general solution. Okay. Like I don't see Alexa or Google Home, for example, as a full integration environment for these products, right? Okay. It's very limited. Okay. Those are just interfaces by voice.
So why would you say they're limited? Just out of curiosity, because I've had this debate, and we're probably going to have another conversation on this at some point. What would you say is the limitation with having Alexa as your key point, your key UI for your smart home full of IoT devices, for example?
Well, it's based on the internet. Like my house is already the item's already in my home. Why do I need to communicate with something that then has all my products sitting on some cloud somewhere to then interact back with my house? And also just the functionality you can get out is very limited. Like I can't, I've got no dashboard. I've got no.
You can't manage it essentially. It's not a managed system. It's just an interface to trigger some output.
Yeah, it's just on and off, and you lose certain functionality of each product.
Valid point.
And it doesn't always work. I've got a smart switch that turns on off my speakers. It just doesn't work. Now and then, and because it's based off a lot of far, wireless integration. So not only is it wireless, the connection's sketchy to the house itself, but then it has to then connect to Amazon servers, which then has to connect to the switch manufacturer's servers, and then will then switch my switch.
Okay. No, valid point. But again, these are the things that we need to get through. But anyway, Savvas, has been great speaking today. I think it's been quite insightful getting your perspective from a developer and also a consumer as well. Somebody wants to use the products, and I think we'll probably have more comments in the future. But thanks for coming. That's good. Thanks, guys.